Historically, humans have always valued rare resources for survival. Think about food, shelter, and mates. The rarer these things were, the more valuable they became. This innate response is still hardwired into the brain. In a relationship, when a person feels like they have unlimited access to you emotionally, through communication, or by physical proximity, they are less likely to value you in the way that you deserve. This is a dynamic that plays out in many breakups or relationship situations. Even if a person doesn't actively pursue you anymore, they may still keep the door open in their mind. This is where many people get stuck. They don't realize the power of scarcity in motivating the other person to come back into their life. The open door mistake. When a breakup occurs, many people, especially men, make the mistake of leaving the door open, so to speak. They don't actively chase the other person, but they also don't disappear completely. They might say things like, "Maybe we'll reconnect in the future," or, "Who knows, maybe we can try again one day." While it might sound like an innocent statement, what this really communicates is that the door is always open. The relationship, at least in the mind of the other person, is still a possibility. This leaves room for the person to not feel a sense of urgency or loss. They don't feel like they need to make a decision or take any action because, in their mind, they know you will always be available for them. They know that if they reach out even after months or years, you will respond. They have no incentive to value you now because there's no perceived cost to not valuing you. The relationship is still in their periphery, and there's no sense of urgency to reclaim it or to fight for it. When you leave yourself as a constant option in their life, you also leave them in a place where they feel no urgency to make any moves. This can result in them continuing their lives without making any effort to reconnect or re-establish the relationship. Why would they when they know you're always there? Why breadcrumbing is a trap. Breadcrumbing is a term that refers to the act of giving someone just enough attention to keep them around, but never fully committing or being emotionally present. It's like dropping breadcrumbs along the path, ensuring the person follows, but never leading them to a full resolution or commitment. After a breakup, many people mistakenly fall into this trap. They might not directly chase or beg for reconciliation, but they give little breadcrumbs of attention to the other person. Maybe it's responding to a text message, liking their social media posts, or offering a friendly hello if they run into them. These small gestures are meant to keep the connection alive, but in doing so, they make it easy for the other person to believe that the relationship is still a possibility even when it's not. What this does is cause confusion. It makes the other person feel like they haven't truly lost you, because you're still there, in some form. They may not want to take any immediate action because they don't feel that urgency. If they believe they can reach out at any time and you'll respond, then there's no reason for them to make the decision to either reconnect or completely move on. They'll remain stuck in a limbo state, still thinking that there's hope for the future without any need to act now. While this behavior might feel like being friendly or polite, it's actually a form of self-sabotage. It stops you from moving on, and it keeps the other person in a holding pattern where they don't have to invest any real emotional energy into the situation. The importance of complete disappearance. In contrast, complete disappearance is a strategy that creates scarcity, the idea that you are no longer available. This doesn't mean you disappear in a dramatic or hostile way. Rather, it means you stop being emotionally accessible. You remove yourself from the other person's life completely, and you stop engaging with them, even on a minimal level. When you do this, you send a clear message: I'm no longer available to you in any capacity. This is a message that is hard to ignore. It disrupts their expectation of having easy access to you and forces them to face the reality of your absence. This absence creates a sense of loss, and that loss is powerful. When they can no longer reach out to you or get the emotional comfort they once had, they are likely to start realizing that they took you for granted. Suddenly, your value skyrockets in their eyes. They might begin to miss the emotional connection you provided, or they might start regretting not appreciating the relationship more when they had the chance. This realization is often what prompts them to reconsider their past actions and feelings. The psychology of loss. One of the core aspects of the scarcity effect is the psychology of loss. We are wired to avoid loss because it signals potential harm or danger. In relationships, loss can trigger feelings of anxiety, regret, and emotional distress. The mere possibility of losing something or someone we care about can drive us to take action in ways that we wouldn't have otherwise. When you make yourself scarce, the other person begins to experience a sense of emotional loss. Even if they weren't fully invested in the relationship before, the sudden absence of your emotional presence or availability can stir up strong feelings. They might not know what they had until it's gone, a classic case of you don't know what you've got until it's gone. This is a powerful emotional trigger. It creates a sense of urgency for the other person to take action, whether it's reaching out to reconnect, apologizing for their past behavior, or attempting to rekindle the relationship. The scarcity of your availability forces them to reevaluate their feelings, their priorities, and their actions in the relationship. The power of indifference. One of the most powerful tactics in making yourself scarce is adopting a position of indifference. Indifference doesn't mean you don't care about the person or the relationship. It means that you no longer base your happiness or self-worth on the other person's actions or decisions. When you become indifferent to their behavior, you no longer chase or beg for their attention. You're no longer emotionally reliant on their responses. Instead, you focus on your own growth, happiness, and well-being. This shift in mindset is not only liberating for you, but it's also attractive to the other person. They will feel the change in dynamic, and it will make them realize that they no longer have control over the situation. Indifference communicates that you are okay with or without them. This is the essence of scarcity, the understanding that you are a valuable individual who doesn't need them to validate your worth. When the other person sees that you have emotionally moved on, they may suddenly feel the need to reconnect, if only to get a sense of validation, or because they realize they might have lost something they once took for granted. Rebuilding the attraction. When you disappear or make yourself scarce, it can pave the way for rebuilding attraction, not necessarily with the goal of getting back together, but for creating a healthy dynamic where both parties can see the relationship for what it was and make a decision based on actual value, not convenience or complacency. The scarcity effect doesn't necessarily mean you should become emotionally unavailable or play games. Rather, it's about creating the right kind of distance to allow the other person to feel the weight of your absence. It's about shifting the power dynamic in a way that puts you back in control of your emotions and your worth. By becoming a limited resource, you force the other person to face the consequences of their actions or inaction. When they realize that they can't always have access to you, they might start to see things in a new light. This shift can lead to them valuing the relationship more and reconsidering their past behavior, which might create the opportunity for growth, understanding, and, perhaps, a new beginning. Conclusion. The scarcity effect is a potent psychological principle that can be used strategically in relationships to create value and urgency. By making yourself emotionally scarce after a breakup or in a relationship where you feel undervalued, you force the other person to confront the reality of losing you. This emotional loss can spark new interest, reignite old feelings, and lead to a re-evaluation of the relationship dynamics. While it's important to use this tactic carefully, it can be a powerful tool for creating the emotional distance needed to regain control, attract the right kind of attention, and ensure that you are valued for the person you are, not just for the emotional availability you provide.